Hello, you are listening to Cali Chats, a healthy living podcast with a goal of helping you find true happiness within your mind, body, and soul. I'm Jessie Cali, and it is time to get real. Hello, welcome to another episode of Cali Chats. Yay! We are back. Okay, before we get started, I do want to give you guys a trigger warning on mental health and sexual assault because those topics do come up today as we are talking through accountability. So, without further ado, what is today's topic? I think I just said it. Accountability, specifically personal accountability. So what exactly is that? What do I mean by accountability? Well, according to Google, accountability is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's own actions. And to me, it's not only being responsible, but also choosing to recognize behaviors in yourself that either need some work or need to be dealt with in a more positive way. And then doing those positive things. That's what it means to me. Now listen, having personal accountability does not mean you need to be perfect, okay? Let's get that right. It doesn't mean you have to be the most organized or always doing the right thing. It also doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out. I mean, who has everything figured out? Am I right? What it does mean is choosing to take responsibility for your own words, actions, and behaviors, and for the outcomes that they produce. And then, furthermore, managing those outcomes if necessary. It also means doing the things that you have told yourself you are going to do, and then accomplishing them. One big note I want to make clear before we move on in this discussion is the fact that your mental health and personal accountability go hand in hand. Without accountability, you can start to feel out of control. Out of control. And it's important to always keep an eye on your mental health. Today, I'm going to share a little bit more insight into my journey and how accountability has always been key for me in my growth journey. I will also be introducing our first ever Cali Chats series that will start in April. So stay tuned until the very end. All right, so as usual, let's hop into a bit of story time, and then next we will walk through some common mistakes we make when it comes to accountability. And then lastly, we will talk through benefits and why you need more personal accountability. So, I'm going to take you back to last week. It was the last weekend in February 2021. As you all know, I have chosen to move back to Memphis and am currently in the process of moving all of my things back from Nashville. I also just finished the best first solo trip ever to Disney World. I love Disney. And I've also been celebrating a couple family birthdays, and my life has been pretty hectic. Fabulous, really, but hectic as of late. And then it happened. Things were finally calming down. I got on the road to head back to Nashville to pick up another load of stuff to bring home. And there you have it. It was silent. I was alone. Alone in my thoughts. I hit some traffic, and obviously I got frustrated, and boom, it hit me. Like a ton of bricks. This was the last few days of February, and that meant March was here. March. I hate March. I didn't always hate March, but I do now. I hate it, and I hate that I hate it. It's quite the cycle. 5 years ago, on one terrible night in March, I was raped, and my virginity was taken away. Every day I get better. Every day I get stronger. But in March, my body falls weak. It was the weirdest thing the morning of my drive. I felt so weird. I felt so tired. My body ached. And I really didn't know why. I didn't understand why until I was sitting in that traffic. Until all those red lights were in front of me and I was just sitting in traffic. March. Up until this year, I've always allowed my depression to take over in March. I fall silent, I break down, I retreat, I cry, I hurt, but I always eventually pick myself back up. The problem was I allowed my depression to consume me. And what makes that bad is that one day, if I continue to let this consume me, I may not be able to pick myself up the next time. And that's what's scary about it. As I'm talking to you guys right now, I literally have a tear that just fell out of my eyes. Just one little tear, because anytime I talk about this, I do get emotional. It's feelings, it's pain, it's heartbreak. There's all these feelings that we have, and it's okay to feel them. In therapy, I always learned about accountability. Once I had worked through the actual pain of that night, accountability became key. Building up my army and continuing to choose the next right thing always. But when I do fall short, I recognize it quickly and I move past it to do better and be better. But I wasn't always like that. It's time for you to do that too. We weren't put on this earth to wallow in self-pity. We were put on this earth to live fully and to love. It can be so extremely hard early on in pain to hold yourself accountable. Even later, it can still remain a challenge. But you have to push through that pain so that one day it won't hurt like that anymore. One day you will have clarity, I promise you. One day you will have peace and you will know how to cope. But you must remain accountable. So what makes this so hard? The most common of mistakes when trying to remain accountable is 1, excuses, and 2, justification. Man, our brain is a beautiful, fabulous, tricky thing. I know this because one of my best friends is in neuro stuff. I'm just kidding. No. Hey, Megan. No, I just mean it. Our mind is crazy. It's crazy. The things that it can do. If you aren't sure if you do these things, think through this. Have you ever changed the story or softened the facts of something? Or claimed partial responsibility, but really not at all? Or you refer to a past experience that is at fault, no, it was that thing, that's what's wrong. Or shifting the topic to something less important and pretending that is the issue. Or lastly, comparing yourself to others who were just as lacking in accountability. You done this? Relate to any of that? If so, it's time to take a hard look at your personal accountability. You can't control others, but you can control you. And then another common mistake is talking yourself out of things. Ugh. Have you ever had a really great idea or wanted to do something, but then you chicken out last minute? That's you holding yourself back. We can use our brain to create and rationalize literally anything. Any manner of stories, if we want to convince ourselves of something, we can do it. But if you are using your brain to not be accountable to things that you've committed to, you're only holding yourself back. And the last of the mistakes we are going to talk about is playing the victim. Listen, we've all been there. The whole poor me act. No one will ever understand what I'm going through, and that is simply not true. Playing the victim will always get you off the hook. Right in that moment when you pull the card, yeah, it's going to get you off the hook. But that will not help you gain your power back. That will just feed the depression and toxic choices you make when avoiding to get help. As people, we are responsible for picking ourselves back up and making the best choice for us. No one else can change you. No one else can make those choices but you. Bad things do happen to good people, and that sucks. But you can't let that keep you down. You gotta rise above, and you gotta choose you. Choose joy. Be the best you that you can be. You'll start to feel a lot better when you stop making excuses, justifying, playing victim. When you stop doing those things, you will start to find personal accountability. And why? Why is this such a beautiful thing? Onward and upward to why personal accountability is such a beautiful thing. And not only is it necessary, but it's going to benefit you. I promise. And this is why. I got 3 points of why this will benefit you. One, your self-worth and self-love will rise. You always have an eye on you. You are always looking at you. Self-judgment and criticism is higher than pretty much anything else when it comes to yourself. You are your biggest critic. When you begin to hold yourself responsible and make better choices, you will naturally start to feel healthier, be better, and love yourself more. It really is just like that. Like, it's weird. It's weird to talk about that, but it's so simple when you think about it like that. You look at you, so if you make better choices, you're gonna like yourself better, okay? So your self-worth and self-love will rise. 2, your goals become achievements and you will run to opportunity. When you maintain positive life changes and make better choices, you'll continue to keep checking goals right off your list. You actually start to enjoy it too, which is like the best part about it. Like when you cross it off the list, you're like, yes, more goals. It will keep you motivated and it'll keep you making the next best move forward for yourself. You'll run at those opportunities and you will be the best version of you. And then 3, you will help others, relationships will improve, and trust will be increased. Personal accountability literally just starts to naturally benefit you like this. Ever since the start of sharing my story and experiences, I have had nothing but love, compassion, and support. I get the opportunity to not only help others with my story, but to continue to walk forward in my own personal journey. When you do the things you tell others you will do, you build trust, you improve relationships, and you ultimately feel so good and better. And things will start to fall back into place naturally. So now that we have all of that said, let's rewind back to the story and talk through it. I'm in the car, sitting in traffic, and it hits me. March is here. Old Jessie would have had a long cry, kept this to myself, wallowed in my darkness, and just fell into a funk. But I didn't want that this year. I didn't want this year to just be like every year since that night 5 years ago, where I allowed my power to be taken away from me. I didn't want that because that climb back up was so hard and painful every single time. So new Jessie turned on some music for the time being, breathed, and got myself to Nashville. I sat on my bed, I stared at the wall for a minute, grabbed my phone, because it was time to bring in my army. My army of people who forever have my back, support me, and hold me accountable. My personal accountability starts with sharing my feelings with those who love me. I texted some of my close friends, my mom, my sister. It was just a simple, I love you. I love that you're here for me always. And this month may be an extra hard one for me. And I can already feel the weight on my chest today. This is the month of my assault, and I need you all a little extra this month. It's really just as simple as that. Some of you are probably listening to this. Hello, all my army. It is so simple. You open your mouth, you speak your accountability into existence. I know that March sucks for me, so I alert the troops. All the people who would go to hell and back for me. So on the days when my personal accountability falls short and I have a dark, down day, they lift me back up and remind me how beautiful, powerful, and strong that I am. I define who I am. And so do you. March will not take me out this year. I have a whole army standing behind me. Build up your army. Speak out your feelings. Choose the next best thing. You will feel so much better when you do so. I promise. I know I've promised y'all a lot this episode, but I swear it. If you hold yourself accountable, if you build up your army, it will start to naturally just benefit you. And speaking of promises, I know I owe you all the announcement of the first ever Cali Chats Series. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. April is recognized as the month for sexual assault awareness. I will have 4 episodes, one on each Tuesday as usual in April, that is dedicated to a different piece of my growth journey. We're going to dive into the meat of my story, a walkthrough of therapy, a look back at my personal growth, and much more. I will also be bringing in some different guests from my past who have either witnessed me during my journey or who are what I believe to be experts in the topics that we're going to discuss. So, very excited for that. I thought it was not only my duty to share more about my story during this month, but also to just get it out there to help others and hopefully be a light for those who are currently just wading through that darkness. And of course, please do not hesitate to reach out if you have anything to share. You can email me personally at calicreatesllc@gmail.com or reach out via DM on Instagram and Facebook at calicreatesllc. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Cali Chats. You are beautiful. You are loved. And I will chat with you all next Tuesday. Bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere you can listen to a podcast. For more from me and Cali Chats, visit www.calicreates.com. Or you can check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Cali Creates LLC. Thanks, and talk to you guys later. Bye.